This podcast is a part of the More Podcast Network.
Dan, I would rather turn it over to you and just say, my question is, Dan, what do you want to talk about? What is, what's kind of behind the curtain right now in the works for you as it relates to a message that you're passionate about, something that you're really trying to get into the hearts and minds of the leaders that you encounter and you feel like is just missing in the leadership that you see today?
Well, I think, if I would talk about, I would really, it has to do with responsibility. And because I think that's where it starts. And the problem with the word responsibility is it's been leveled by the culture to mean blame, shame, or credit. And the problem with that is that they all of a sudden responsibility gets anchored to the past. Who's to blame? I should shame myself because it didn't turn out. And who gets the credit? versus versus what worked, what didn't work, and what's wanted and needed. Now, they both of those things are they call on a very different orientation. So if you see responsibility as blame, shame, and credit, you're going to look to the past because you can't blame somebody for something unless you know what occurred. And you shame yourself because of what occurred, and you give credit because of what occurred. So you begin to you start to base the future solely on what occurred. And it usually ends up in defense of what occurred, which means you're going to have more of what you say you really don't want. In language, and there's a whole thing on language, which I won't go into now. That's a whole other deal that I work with leaders, but responsibility is deeply tied to the relationship or the posture a leader has to the future. So if I look at what's wanted and needed, or I look at what worked, what didn't work, and what's wanted and needed, those are all in relationship to the future I'm committed to have that hasn't happened yet, something unprecedented. That doesn't mean I don't look to the past. I look to the past to learn what's wanted and needed, to learn what worked, what didn't work as well. But I'm not looking to give credit or blame. I'm not looking to shame myself because it's not about me or anybody else. It's really about the future. Now, if the future is clear enough and what it's calling for is clear enough, those who aren't up to it back off, and they become evident, and we either can let them go or they work themselves out because they see it's better for them to leave or not be part of it because they're not really interested in that. But I think really getting that whole concept in and being making that up, and understanding that what I'm unwilling to face will eventually defeat me. Like if I don't want to face something because I don't like the way it feels or because I think it puts me down, if I can't find a way to face it, it's eventually going to defeat me because I'm going to be blind to it because I haven't been able to get close enough to it to understand what it is and transform it from an enemy into an ally. So I can name a number of things in my life like that. Like I was talking with my daughter, my need, to be right with her pushed her away early on. So when I feel like I need to be right, it's telling me it's an ally. It says, oh no, be curious now about where she's at. Here's what you want to be right about, Dan. Fine. Park that and let's get curious about where she is and how does it relate to her and what she wants to get done. And that will ultimately transform what I was thinking or needing to be right about. And suffering, right? That all and it really there's so much tied to responsibility. Our ability to suffer well and productively and creatively. There's a lot. I can chunk that into a million different things. But I think that's probably the issue.